So, one of your first chapters, I found this very interesting, was, I think it's titled Communists Lie, or something very, very close to that, or the Communist Lie. Explain to me why you have a whole chapter dedicated to this idea.
I have been writing about these issues extensively. I went through the body of my material on China and national security affairs over the past 20 years, and it was truly an incredible amount of really eye-opening stories that were groundbreaking and totally eye-opening in terms of highlighting the China threat. So I had so much material. What I decided to do was to focus on case studies. And I took a number of case studies, and one of the case studies, again, it was on how communists lie, was to identify China's reaction to a seminal event in the history of national security affairs, and that was the 2007 anti-satellite missile test.
Right.
And I went throughout, and I had a lot of material on this, so I highlighted how China had deceived the world, mainly the United States, about this test. And what happened was, in this test, they fired a missile at an aging weather satellite, and it created a massive debris field, which right now threatens both spacecraft and orbiting space stations, and will for over 100 years. And so this, how China reacted to that, first was they lied about it. And I point out that this is the key reaction of communist regimes, is they lie, then they deceive, then they mislead. And so I felt it was important to set the stage by that. And it also highlighted this idea of China's space weapons, which I go into in great detail in the book.
So, this is another interesting thing in your book is a number of analysts or people who are experts, folks who are even very clear that China is an authoritarian state, that I've spoken with, don't really believe China is communist. Yet you go out of your way to outline how it's definitely Marxist-Leninist with these Chinese characteristics. And again, I'm wondering why you felt important to outline that, and what are the implications?
Sure. It reminds me of a debate that took place in New York City a number of years ago, and there were two sides, and the debate question was, is China a threat? And on the side that agreed that China's a threat was myself and Mike Pillsbury and another expert, and on the China is not a threat was Stapleton Roy and another who is a former diplomat who was steeped in the pro-China view, and an American businessman. And after the debate, the businessman came up to me and he said, "Bill, I don't understand why you are making the case that China's a communist system. I've been doing business in China for 20 years,
right,
and I've never met a communist." And my response to him was, well, I think you should visit the PLA Museum in Beijing, which I had the fortune to visit. And if someone goes to that museum in Beijing, they will see statues of the communist founding leaders, including Mao, Stalin, Lenin, Marx, and Engels. So it's clear that, again, this deception by China that it's not communist is very important. And my point in writing Deceiving the Sky was to really highlight and help people understand the problem. That, to me, that's really the first step in finding solutions for how to deal with it. So, for example, I've been urging the Trump administration, the most important thing they could do right now would be to publish a book-length white paper on the nature of the Communist Party of China. I often tell people when I talk about China, the China threat is not the Chinese people, it's the Chinese Communist Party. And a Chinese general, a colonel one time visited me at the Washington Times, and I made that point to him, and he was totally adamant that there is no difference between the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese people. And this is, again, another major deception. So it's important, I feel, to really highlight this issue of Chinese communist ideology.